I got a text from my buddy Marcus yesterday. Marcus works for the federal government, Department of Labor. Been there 12 years, nice salary, good benefits, pension, the whole American dream. Package that doesn't exist anymore except in government jobs. His text said, I might be fired, not because I did anything wrong, because of Schedule F. And I'm staring at my phone like, Schedule F. What is Schedule F? Is that a tax form? Is that a new COVID variant? Did we run out of Greek letters and now we're using the alphabet? So I called him. And he explained it to me. And halfway through the explanation, I had to sit down. Then I had to pour a drink. Then I had to pour another drink because the first one wasn't enough. Because schedule. This thing that sounds boring, this thing that sounds like bureaucratic paperwork is the government's way of saying, you know all those protections federal workers have, the ones that keep them from getting fired for political reasons? Yeah, we're deleting those. Control plus Alt plus delete. Gone. 50,000 federal. Employees could lose their job protections. 50,000 with the stroke of a pen with an executive order. No debate, no vote, just done. And Marcus, who's been a loyal employee for over a decade, is sitting at home wondering if he's about to join the unemployment line because the president doesn't like his boss's policy. So today we're talking about Schedule F, the executive order that killed job security, not just for government workers, for everyone. Because if the safest jobs in America aren't safe anymore, brother, none of us are safe. The boring explanation, that's actually horrifying. All right, let's start with the basics. And I promise I'll make this interesting even though it sounds like the most boring government policy document ever written. Schedule F is, or was, or might be again, depending on who wins what election. An executive order created in October 2020, right before the election. Suspicious timing, but whatever. Here's what it does. It takes certain federal employees, specifically employees in policy-determining, policy-making, or policy advocating positions, and it reclassifies them. It moves them from the competitive service, where they have job protections, to a new category called Schedule F, where they have zero protections. Translation, it makes them at-will employees, which means they can be fired at any time, for any reason or no reason. Just like your job at Wendy's, just like your job at the warehouse, just like every private sector job in America. But Bill, how many people are we talking about? Great question. The estimates range from 50,000 to over 100,000 federal employees. That's not a typo. That's not an exaggeration. That's 50 to 100,000 people who would lose job security overnight. Here's why this matters. Here's why this is a big deal and not just government bureaucrat problems. For decades, for generations, government jobs were considered the safe option. Maybe you didn't get rich working for the government. Maybe your private sector friends made more money and drove nicer cars and vacationed in places you couldn't pronounce. But you had security. You had a pension. You had benefits. And most importantly, you couldn't be fired just because a new president came in and decided they didn't like your face. That was the deal. That was the trade-off. Lower pay, higher security, boring work, stable employment. That was the social contract. Marcus took that deal. My buddy Marcus, who could have made more money in the private sector with his economics degree, took a government job because he wanted stability. Because he wanted to know he'd still have a job when he was 50, when he had kids, when he had a mortgage. And now they're saying, actually, that deal's off. That security you were promised, gone. You're at will now. You can be fired tomorrow if the new administration doesn't like your department's policy recommendations. It's like buying life insurance and then the company going, actually, we changed our mind. You're not covered anymore, but thanks for the premiums. Now, the official reason for Schedule F was to increase accountability and make the federal workforce more responsive to presidential direction. That sounds reasonable, right? That sounds like good governance, making sure employees are aligned with the president's agenda, making sure bureaucrats aren't just sitting around refusing to do what they're told, but let's say the quiet part out loud. Let's talk about what this actually does. It lets the president fire anyone who disagrees with them. Anyone who says, actually, Mr. President, that policy might be illegal. Anyone who says, that's not what the data shows. Anyone who says, I think this is a bad idea. Gone, fired, replaced with someone who will say yes to everything. It's not about accountability. It's about loyalty. It's about turning the federal government into a place where independent thought gets you unemployed. And before you say, good, drain the swamp, fire the bureaucrats. Remember, these are the people who process your Social Security benefits, inspect your food for safety, make sure your drinking water isn't poison, enforce workplace safety, regulations, manage disaster relief after hurricanes, investigate fraud and corruption. You want some of these people to be able to say no to bad ideas without getting fired. If government jobs aren't safe, what is? The spiral. So I'm talking to Marcus, and he's explaining all this, and I'm nodding along, and then I hang up the phone. And I just sit there because something broke in my brain, some fundamental assumption about how the world works just shattered. Government jobs were the safe jobs. That was axiomatic. That was like saying water is wet or taxes are annoying. It was just true. If you wanted job security, you worked for the government. That's what our parents told us. That's what our teachers told us. That's what society told us. And now, even that's not safe. So I started thinking about my job, my private sector job, where I have zero protections, where I can be fired for any reason or no reason, where at-will employment means my boss can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and decide today's the day Bill goes. And I started thinking about all the jobs, about my friend who works at a startup that's running out of funding, about my cousin who's a teacher and the school district keeps cutting positions, about my neighbor who drives for Uber because his real job doesn't pay enough. None of us have job security. None of us. And I thought government workers at least had that. I thought someone in this economy had stability. But no. Apparently we're all just one bad day away from unemployment. The domino effect, the cascade. But it gets worse. Because I started thinking about what happens when 50,000 federal employees get fired. They don't just disappear. They don't evaporate. They go looking for new jobs. They flood the job market. They compete for the same positions everyone else is competing for. 50,000 experienced professionals with government backgrounds all looking for work at the same time. You think that won't affect you? It's supply and demand, baby. More workers, same number of jobs. What happens to wages? They go down. What happens to hiring standards? They go up. What happens to your negotiating power? It vanishes. Suddenly, employers can be pickier. Oh, you want $50,000 a year? I've got a former GS-13 with 15 years of experience who'll take 45 next. And these fired federal workers, they have mortgages, they have car payments, they have kids. They can't just sit around being unemployed. They'll take whatever they can get. They'll undercut. They'll accept lower pay. They'll take your job for less money. It's a race to the bottom. And we're all in the race now. The mental health angle, the anxiety. I haven't slept well in 3 days. 3 days since Marcus told me about Schedule F, because I keep thinking about job security, or the lack of job security, the complete absence of job security. I keep thinking about how I'm one mistake away from being fired, one bad quarter, one budget cut, one merger, one restructuring, one executive deciding my position is redundant. I keep thinking about how there's no safety net, how unemployment benefits run out after 6 months, how health insurance is tied to employment, how my entire life is dependent on keeping this one job, and I can't do anything about it. I can't control it. I just have to show up every day and hope that today's not the day. Hope that this week's not the week. Hope that I'm valuable enough to keep around. It's exhausting. It's mentally draining. It's like living with a sword hanging over your head by a thread. And now even the people who thought they were safe, who took lower pay for stability, they don't have that anymore either. So what's the point? What's the point of planning? What's the point of saving? What's the point of buying a house or starting a family when everything can be ripped away with an executive order or a layoff email? I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm trying to be honest. This is what it feels like living in an economy where job security is dead. The precedent, the domino. Here's what keeps me up at night. And I mean, really keeps me up at night. Like staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. keeps me up at night. If the government can do this to federal workers, workers with unions and civil service protections and laws specifically designed to protect them, what does that mean for the rest of us? What does that mean for private Sector workers who have no protections, who work in at-will states, who can be fired for wearing the wrong color shirt? It sets a precedent. It normalizes the idea that job security is a luxury, not a right. That employers, whether government or private, should have total power to fire anyone, anytime, for any reason. But Bill, private companies already have that power. Exactly. And now the government, which was supposed to be better, which was supposed to protect workers, is saying, actually, we're going to do it too. We're going to be just as brutal as Amazon and Walmart and every soul-crushing corporation out there. It's a race to the bottom. And when the government joins that race, we've all lost. The quality problem. The brain drain. Let's talk about what happens to government quality when you implement Schedule F. Right now, people work for the government despite lower pay because of job security and because they want to do public service. They want to make a difference. They want to help people. But if you remove job security, if you make government jobs just as precarious as private sector jobs, why would anyone talented work for the government? Why would you take lower pay with no job security when you could work private sector? For higher pay with no job security? At least in the private sector, you might make more money before you get fired. So the government loses good people, smart people, experienced people, and they get replaced with, what? Loyalists. People who will say yes to everything. People who care more about keeping their job than doing their job well. And that affects you. That affects all of us. When the FDA is staffed by people who are afraid to say this drug isn't safe, people die. When the EPA is staffed by people who are afraid to say this company is polluting, people get sick. When the Labor Department is staffed by people who are afraid to say this employer is breaking the law, workers get exploited. Job security for federal workers isn't just about them. It's about all of us. It's about making sure the people protecting us can do their jobs without fear of being fired for telling the truth. The political weapon, the purge. And let's be real about what Schedule F is actually for. Let's stop pretending this is about efficiency or accountability. This is about political power. This is about making sure everyone in the government is aligned with the president's agenda. This is about creating a loyalty test. Do you support the president's policies? No? You're fired. Do you agree with everything we say? No? You're gone. Will you implement policies you think are bad? No? Next. It's not about qualifications. It's not about performance. It's about obedience. And every time we change presidents, every 4 years, 50,000 people get fired and replaced with the new president's loyalists. And those people know they'll be fired in 4 years if the other party wins. So nobody plans long term. Nobody builds expertise. Nobody develops institutional knowledge. It's just a revolving door of political appointees who are there to serve the president, not the public. That's not a government. That's a personality cult with a budget. Step 1, accept that job security is dead. The 5 stages of grief. First, we need to go through the stages of grief because job security is dead. It's gone. It's not coming back. Denial. This won't affect me. I'm valuable. They need me. Wrong. Everyone's replaceable. Everyone. Anger. This is bullshit. This isn't fair. We deserve security. You're right. It's not fair, but fair doesn't pay bills. Bargaining. Maybe if I work harder, if I'm more loyal, they'll still fire you when the budget gets cut. Loyalty is a one-way street. Depression. What's the point? Why even try? I feel you. I really feel you. But we got to keep going. Acceptance. Okay, job security is dead. Now what? Now we adapt. Now we strategize. Now we build our own security. Step 2. Build your own safety net because no one else will. If employers won't give you security, you have to create your own. Here's how. Emergency fund. Save 6 months of expenses, minimum. I know that sounds impossible. I know you're living paycheck to paycheck, but start somewhere. Even $50 a month. Because when you lose your job, and statistically you will at some point, you need time to find another one. Multiple income streams. Don't rely on one. Job. 1 paycheck, 1 employer, side hustles, freelance work, passive income. Diversify your income like you diversify investments because if one stream dries up, you've got others. Skills that transfer. Learn things that work anywhere. not just industry-specific skills, communication, project management, data analysis, leadership. Things that make you hireable in multiple fields. Network constantly. Your next job comes from your network, not a job board. Go to industry events, connect on LinkedIn, help people, build relationships. Because when you get fired, you need people who can vouch for you and know about openings. Portable benefits. If your health insurance comes from your job, you're vulnerable. Look into options that aren't tied to employment. It's more expensive, I know, but it's insurance against catastrophic medical debt when you're between jobs. Step 3. Plan for unemployment. Because it's coming. This sounds dark. This sounds pessimistic, but it's realistic. The average person will have 12 jobs over their lifetime. 12. That means you'll be unemployed multiple times. Not because you're bad at your job. Because of layoffs, budget cuts, restructuring, companies going under the economy. So plan for it. Know your rights, unemployment benefits, COBRA, health insurance. Severance negotiation, know what you're entitled to when you get fired. Have a resume ready. Don't wait until you're fired to update your resume. Keep it current, keep it polished. Because when you're panicking about being unemployed, you don't want to also be stressing about writing a resume. Job search strategy, know where you'd look for jobs, what companies you'd target, what positions you'd apply for, have a plan so you're not starting from scratch. When you're desperate. Mental health plan. Getting fired destroys your self-esteem. Have a therapist. Have a support system. Have healthy coping mechanisms that aren't drinking or binge eating or spiraling into depression. Step 4. Advocate for better policies, even though it feels hopeless. I know you're tired. I know you feel powerless. But we have to keep fighting for better labor. Protections. Vote. Vote for politicians who support worker protections, unemployment benefits, health care not tied to employment, union rights, actual job security policies. Organize, join, or support unions, worker advocacy groups, political organizations that fight for labor rights. There's power in numbers, even if individuals feel powerless. Speak up. When companies treat workers like garbage, call them out. Leave reviews. Tell your story. Make it public. Shame works sometimes. Support others. When your coworker gets fired, unfairly, stand with them. When workers strike, support them. Solidarity isn't just a nice word. It's how we survive. Step 5. Take care of your mental health. Seriously. Living without. Job security is stressful. It's anxiety-inducing. It's exhausting. You need coping mechanisms, therapy, if you can afford it, if your insurance covers it. Talk to someone about your anxiety and stress. Community. Find people in the same boat. Commiserate. Support each other. You're not alone in this. Boundaries. Don't let work consume you. Don't sacrifice your entire life for a job that could fire you tomorrow. Work-life balance isn't selfish. It's survival. Perspective. Remember that. You are more than your job. Your worth isn't determined by your employment status. You're a person with value even when you're unemployed. I called Marcus back today, asked him how he's doing, if he's okay. He said, "I'm not okay, Bill. I'm terrified. I've got 2 kids. I've got a mortgage. I've been a loyal employee for 12 years. And I might lose everything because of an executive order I can't control." And I didn't know what to say. Because what can you say? It'll be okay? I don't know that. You'll find another job? Maybe. But maybe not. The truth is we're living in an economy where nobody is safe. Not government workers with civil service protections. Not private sector employees with stable jobs. Not anyone. Job security is dead. The social contract is broken. The promise that if you work hard and do good work, you'll be rewarded with stability, that's gone. And Schedule F is just the latest example, just the most visible example. But it's happening everywhere, in every industry, in every sector. We're all just temporary, all just one bad quarter or one policy change or one executive decision away from the unemployment line. And I hate that. I hate that this is our reality. I hate that we've normalized this. I hate that we've accepted this. But hating, it doesn't change it, so we adapt. We build our own security. We support each other. We fight for better policies. We survive because that's all we can do. Schedule F might fire 50,000 federal workers, but the real lesson is that any of Us can be fired at any time, government or private, blue collar or white collar, experienced or entry level. None of us are safe. And the sooner we accept that, the sooner we can start preparing for it. I checked my bank account this morning. Still, zero. But you know what's worse than zero? Being unemployed with zero. Being jobless with bills. Being fired with a mortgage. So I'm going to keep working, keep saving, keep building my safety net. Keep hoping today's not the day. And I'm going to tell Marcus he's not alone, that we're all in this together. That job security might be dead, but solidarity isn't. This is Mr. Bill, reminding you that your job is temporary. Your bills are permanent, and Schedule F is just the government admitting what we already knew. Nobody's safe anymore. Stay broke, stay anxious, stay employed as long as you can, and when they fire you, and eventually they will, remember you are more than your job. You are more than your paycheck. You are a person with value, even if the economy disagrees.